Solid Foundation Preparatory School, the Accra Girls Vocational Institution, Santana Video, Rural Development, and Bawaleshi. So that's the situation. Electoral materials have arrived over here in the constituency.
All right. Osha, now, can you just update us on the COVID-19 protocols? I'm not sure I heard you talk about that. Looking at the people there, do you see them in their nose masks? Do we see the EC officials turning people around or away because they're not in their nose masks?
Adela, can you come again? I can hardly hear you.
Well, so I'm asking about the COVID-19 protocols and in actual fact about the, whether people are wearing their nose masks and what the EC officials are doing about those who may not have it.
Everyone is wearing the nose mask over here. There are COVID ambassadors at every polling station. And early on, we had the COVID ambassadors ensuring that everyone strictly observes the COVID-19 safety protocols. So that is also being observed. And there are hand sanitizers around, and people can also get to wash their hands before voting starts.
I see. And, well, what about security personnel? I mean, we do understand that the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency is a flashpoint, and so we expect that security will be increased in that particular constituency. How many of them do you see? How prepared are they?
There are 10 flashpoints in this constituency. These are at the Link Junior High School, the Solid Foundation Preparatory School, Accra Girls Vocational Institution, Santana Video Area, Rural Development Area, Labaleshi Primary School, Aplata Zilla at East Legon, and then C2329 at Otonglo. These are the flashpoints over here. And early on, I did speak to the East Legon District Police Commander, and he's saying over 200 police personnel have been deployed to ensure law and order, promising that what happened in the by-election will not occur. Bella.
All right. Thank you so much, Portia, and we'll get back to you again so you can update us with more at the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. And, well, yes, you can see clearly that people are ready to cast their ballots. A few minutes to 7 a.m. where we'll start the activity proper. And so we'll be updating you on that and more. So keep watching. Well, Martin is here. Let's see what he has to say.
All right, so yeah, thank you very much, Bella Mundi. What we are doing now is from the constituency that my colleague just reported from, the Ayawaso West Wuogon. Let's do some analysis on that. And Dr. Norte has joined us. Doc, we know that this is part of the data we have been able to extrapolate regarding that constituency. Yes. Walk us through it. If you say upper limit, what does it mean? Lower limit, what does it mean? And like Bella mentioned, that constituency seems to have consistently been won by the NPP. What are the chances? What can the NDC do or could do to tilt that in their favor?
Yeah. Basically, thank you very much. Basically, what NDC should do is perhaps to intensify on their way of campaigning. Certainly, NPP has dominated that space for a very long time.
Do we know why?
Yeah, there are a few reasons. There are a few pointers. One of the main pointer is that anytime people vote, it is during when the universities are in session. And so they get most of their votes from the campuses across. This time around, schools are not in session. So I don't know how it will play out.
Which would mean that, for instance, the University of Ghana, which has about over 40,000 people within that particular area,
yes,
have that 40,000 is out of the total registered persons within the Ayawaso constituency. So that could affect the dynamics of the voting pattern, right?
There are a few of them who would still be voting there. Okay. Those who are close to the environment would still come and vote on campus. And so they would still get a number of them. But we're saying that a chunk would not be available to vote.
Okay. Now, walk us through these numbers, because we are told that the upper limit for the NPP and then the lower limit, NDC, and the upper and lower limits, what do these mean?
Yes. So anytime you make an estimate, be it an average or whatever, you can set up what we call bounds. How far you can go at the lower end or how far you can go at the upper end. So these were actually computed based on the past data that we already have. So you could see that the estimated percentage for MPP is 52.75. That's quite huge. Okay? So for NDC to overtake this, it means that they need to put more into place. And then this translates into average votes of about 31,758. Okay? With the upper limit being 33,199 and the lower limit being 30,317. Actually, these estimates were based on the 2016 figures.
Right.
Now there had been a revision of the 2020 register. Let's see how it pans out.
Okay.
And then you will see that MPP's estimated average and the actual they got were much closer. And they operated above their average. In this game, we are saying that for you to win, you must always operate above the
Beyond a
average.
certain threshold.
Exactly. So once they are operating above the average, it means that they are doing well. When you look at NDC, their estimated percentage is 45.96. But the actual percentage they got was 42.05. It means that they are actually operating below their average. So they need to put in more to be able to counterbalance what MPP is doing. Because, mind you, if 42% moves up, it means it's going to eat into the 52%.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so they will drop.
So talk to us about the role of the independent candidates and what they could do to either of the two main parties. There are about two. There's one other party that fielded a candidate and an independent candidate. If these people are able to marshal some votes, what kind of impact would they have, and who is likely to lose votes?
These two dominant parties have always shown presence in this constituency. In fact, the constituency has always voted blue,
Right.
in favor of the MPP. And so it's a dichotomous situation. I don't see what the independent candidates are bringing to bear on this current election.
Okay.
And so, maximum, I would give them about 2% or 3% of the total votes. And the rest will be shared among these two major parties.
And then clearly, like you mentioned, whoever wins must go beyond a certain threshold, which should be minimum 50%.
Yes.
50% or more. All right, so these are many more analysis coming your way on your election command center. One other thing that we are looking at for you, that if we stay in the Greater Accra region, for instance, we do also know that there are smaller parties. So this is also, like you mentioned, it is the MPP consistently seem to have won that constituency. Walk us through these numbers. What does this mean for the other parties, like you mentioned?
Yes, so for the other parties, when you put all of them together, what it means is that their estimated percentage would not exceed 1.3% of the total votes.
And again, just to lay that caveat, these are figures from 2016 previous elections. So if everything remains constant, we are very likely to see this, but definitely it's not going to be constant.
That is what we're saying. But the actual percentage, actually, the estimator was 1.3. The actual percentage they did was 1.5. It means that there had been an improvement for other parties.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. This is your election command center, and like we mentioned, we're going to be every constituency that you are. Let us know what your thoughts are, or who you're voting for, what is influencing your decision to vote. We have so many more analysis coming your way. For now, though, we have some guests who are also going to be helping us better the conversation, better the understanding of what's happening. We have about 5 minutes for polls to open in the various constituencies. 5 minutes to 7 a.m. and your election command center will be bringing you the very latest regarding the biggest event happening in Ghana right now, Decision 2020. Going back to Bella, who has got some guests with her. Bella.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Martin. And joining me in the studios, I have Dr. Itia Manot-Latte from the University of Education, Winneba, from the Political Science Department. And also, Mr. Vitus Azim is the former Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. We're grateful that you could make the time to join us to discuss very important issues concerning the elections. I'd want to start off, first of all, picking your thoughts on the campaign process so far and what you make of the various political parties and the work they've put into campaigning to ensure that they get the votes that they require. I'll start off with you, sir.
Thank you, Bella, and good morning. Well, when we look at the campaign process, looking at COVID-19 and the impact it had on face-to-face campaigning over the period, we realized that from the beginning it was more of television ads, it was more of radio ads, the use of social media. But getting to the end of November, then we saw a lot of engagement of candidates and citizens. So we saw campaigns, we saw them moving in the towns around. So COVID-19 had an impact, but see that it picked momentum getting to the end of November.
I'll let you hold on with that. Sorry to cut you, but we have to go on the ground now. We've been joined by Evelyn Tengman, and she's updating us from the Nima constituency. And so, Evelyn, if you can tell us what is happening currently at the Nima constituency where you are located.
We have the polling station agents also here, the party agents, they are also here. They have monitored every detail here. We have security personnel who have also been stationed here. 3 police women have been stationed here, actually, 1 to each polling station. But as we speak, the voters are outside of the school premises and they have queued over there. And they will be coming in turns, as I was told by the presiding officer. They will be coming into the premises in turns. And so, if you watch, there have been chairs. There are chairs that have been positioned here. So this particular place is the polling station 2, and you have chairs that just about 7 of them placed here. So when the voters come in, they will sit here, the same as with the rest of the polling stations within the premises here. So talking about the COVID-19 protocols, we have 4 Veronica buckets that have been placed at the entrance. So anytime when the voters are coming in, they'll have to wash their hands there before coming into the premises to cast their ballot. So everything is in place now here. So the EC officials are set, security officials are set. So they are just waiting for 7 o'clock when they will allow the voters to come in and then cast their ballot for the exercise to start. So everything is smooth here at the St. Kizito Roman Catholic School, where some 479 people are expected to cast their ballot at this particular polling station. So from the Nima Nima St. Kizito Catholic School, Evelyn Tengman, TV3 News.
Well, she was updating us on the situation currently at the Nima constituency and St. Kizito Catholic School, to be precise. Still in the studios with me, I have Dr. Itia Manot-Latte from the Political Science Department of the University of Education, Winneba, and Mr. Vitus Azim, who was former Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, which is an anti-corruption CSO. And we're talking about campaign, the build-up to the December 7 elections. We're finally here, but what do they make of the campaign process so far? And I'll come to you, Mr. Vitus Azim, because I want to understand, you at a point had said that, the political party should desist from responding to negative comments and controversies and focus on their policies, more like it. Looking at what they have been able to do over the period, do you think that they focused more on that, and are you satisfied with the work they've done?
Well, I think they adopted the two. They tried to focus on the issues, making promises, some of which I saw as too ambitious, not practical. But they also, I think that most of them they did not pay attention to what they put in their manifestos. it looked like there was no reference to the issues that they put in their manifestos. And so you ask yourself, what was the essence of producing political party manifesto if you not pay attention to it? And even if you try to download the manifestos, they are so bulky. The NPP manifesto was 246 pages, full of pictures of what you have achieved. But you see, a manifesto is supposed to tell you what you are going to do if we give you another term. It's not what you have done. It's good to say, yeah, you've done this, you've achieved this. But what is the next step?
Okay.
So the pictures made the thing so bulky, difficult even to download on internet. MDC too the same. They had 146, maybe being in opposition. But they also put a lot of pictures there and made a lot of promises, most of which I felt they were just too many and not practical. This was continued in the campaigns. They kept promising things that did not even appear first in the manifestos, reacting to each other's campaign promises. And I think that was not the best.
Okay.
The other side was looking at each other as individuals. You see, deal with the issues. But it was now like NDC, these people are not reliable, these people are reliable. I thought that the presidential candidates should have avoided that language. Language that appeared offensive, that kind of thing. Now you cannot be trusted. I thought that those things at least should be left to the ordinary party supporters to talk about and not the presidential candidates. So that wise, I thought that they didn't do well.
Okay. Well, we'll just cross over to the phone lines now and speak to Daniel Opoku, and he's currently at the EC NPP headquarters, I'm told. And so let's see what Daniel Opoku has to tell us. Daniel, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Bella, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So you're currently at the NPP headquarters.
I'm currently at the NPP headquarters. Usually, this is a busy place, but on election day, we are told most of the executives have visited the various polling centers across the country. And during election days, you have at the various headquarters, for the NPP headquarters, I'm told a stage will be set up around 5 p.m. where the various results from the various polling centers will be projected for party faithful, for everybody to see. And currently this morning they have set up a call center, just as Media General has the Garrison. They have set up a call center where people have been designated and assigned to sit behind every call that they will send and call the various members across the country, whether electoral materials have arrived, whether youth officials are present, whether party agents are also present. But unfortunately, we have not been allowed entry into where the call center has been set up. But currently that is what is happening here. A call center has been set up, and from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. when the results begin to trickle in, a stage will be set up behind us where the various results will be projected across the country.
Any top official of the NPP, have you been able to interact with anyone so far to at least update you on other aspects of the election, their preparedness and all that?
We met only one executive member who we are told, he said he's busy now, but he's not ready to speak. But what he's informing us is that the national executives, the chairman, the general secretary, the national organizer, national youth organizers, they have all gone to the various regions and to the various polling centers trying to monitor the elections and see whether their people have come to the various polling stations to monitor how members will be coming to vote. So there's no executive member currently at the NPP headquarters.
Thank you so much. Daniel Opoku is our correspondent, and he has eyes and ears on the ground at the NPP headquarters and will be updating us as and when we get some information. But back to the conversation, Doctor, I'll come to you shortly, but let me still ask Mr. Vitus Azim. You mentioned some overambitious, promises that were made, policies that you thought were a bit over the top. Can you touch on some of these policies that you think were overambitious?
One of them, for example, we are still fighting about free SHS and the double track system. Then you are already promising, and this has already promised, free tertiary education. I thought that was overambitious in the next 4 years. Because when we started talking about free HSS, we were saying that it was not possible, it was not workable in this country, we needed to go beyond. Now we haven't yet streamlined, we haven't finalized the free agent system because there are a lot of problems that we need to address. And then we're already talking about free tertiary. I think that's an ambitious promise. There's also free primary health care. You see, what are our sources of revenues that we think that we can do all these things in the next 4 years? So those are some of the things that I say they are ambitious. Of course, then you talk about the operations thing.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think, until I see it happen, I don't believe that it can happen.
But this falls at your doorstep.
Yes.
We'll come to it shortly. We'll come to operations thing because I want you to touch on the issue of corruption over the last 4 years, maybe. But Doc, coming to you, I mean, Mr. Vitas Azim said that the fact that they introduced the free tertiary education just days before December 7 was over-ambitious. But when you look at the EC's voters registers list and we look at the number of youth that make up the list, that's about 55.5% of the total number. And so could that not have been the reason why? And again, yesterday we established that maybe the political parties saw this a little late, because if they had information about the number of youth that would register, especially even first-time voters, that represents about 15%, maybe they would have considered some of these promises in their manifesto. What do you say to this?
Well, if political parties will have to wait for the EC to release the data of voters before they are able to come up with policies for us, then I think that the political parties, their research departments are not up to scratch. But looking at a policy like free tertiary education, I agree with Mr. Vitas Azim that it is overambitious. It is true that the chunk of our voting population are young people. They are between the ages of 18 and 35, over 50%. It is okay. But the point is that if we promise free university education, free tertiary education, is it possible within the time frame that we have? We have free SHS, an excellent policy, but if you look at it, there are some few things we need to have, the fine-tuning need to be done to that particular policy. So why, as a society, why don't you concentrate on strengthening what we have started? You promise free primary health care. It would be excellent for us to have free primary health care. But do we have, number one, do we have the resources to be able to back these things up? If we don't have the resources and we keep promising, then what will happen is that the electorates very soon will lose faith in our politicians. But we need to have faith in them. We need to have faith in their leadership. We need to have faith in the system. When these promises come, a lot of promises that are largely unfulfilled, what it does is that it doesn't only discredit the politicians, but it also discredits the institutions, because you know that policies are implemented through these institutions. So the promising, objectively looking at the promises, the promising spree, it has not been too good. It is part of our politics. It has been part of our party politics for some time. It is not going anytime soon. But I think that politicians should come up with some policies that will appeal to the people, that are also practical, that could be implemented should they be voted to power.
Are there any policies that you think are good from both manifestos and, of course, from the other minority parties as well?
Yes. From the minority party, talking about technical education, stressing technical education, that would be an excellent policy. We need to strengthen the technical sector. That will help build the nation. It is good if we have that one implemented. That would be okay. If a policy like the free basic health care, that would be an excellent policy. But we are looking at the feasibility. That is where I have a little problem. That looking at the short to medium term, it is not feasible for us to have free basic health care. It would be good we have it. It would be an excellent policy, but I don't see it being implemented within the short term.
Okay, Mr. Vitas Azim, let's talk now about corruption. Like I said earlier, that sits at your doorstep, and it's something you're very passionate about. It's interesting to note that heavily contended political science department of the University of Ghana polls that came out did indicate that when they interacted with the sample, corruption did not play a major role as some of the key determinants as to why they're going to cast their ballot today. Were you surprised by that? And looking at what has happened in the last 4 years, what do you say about the fight against corruption in the country?
You see, with regards to polls, social research, there can usually be problems with it. Where you go to get your sample, the people you talk to, their thinking, especially with regards to politics. Now, one of the issues that has made corruption not an issue is because of the political parties. As I said, the NPP did not speak about corruption in their manifesto, 2020 manifesto. All they did was to say, this is what we promised to do, we have done them. In some cases, they just write, done. But that's not the point of a manifesto. So they have not led the discussion on corruption. And for me, I think because they have failed to address it properly. And so if they raise it, they will not be able to respond appropriately to attract voters.
Okay.
And that's why the NDC took advantage of it, to talk more about corruption. But unfortunately, it depends on how the media also reports these things. Because if the media reports it regularly, then people will think about it, people will see the negative effects of corruption, and then say, oh, let's use this as it should be an issue in the elections. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened that way. The media, in most cases, most media tend to go the side of the ruling government, not only under this government. So the media has not led that discussion. Civil society has been very, very serious about corruption. The scandals and all, the civil society has led the way. And the media should have helped, but I don't think that the media has done enough. Especially a media and sometimes divided. You come out with a serious scandal and one side comes out to defend it. And then they put fake news, counteract what the allegations. And so even the ordinary citizens find it difficult to determine whether it is actually an issue or not. And I think that's why it is not considered an issue in the elections.
Okay.
But I think that serious-minded Ghanaians should see it as an issue.
Okay.
Because no matter what you promise, no matter what you do, no matter how much resources you want to use, if you don't use it properly, if some of it gets leaked into private pockets, definitely you cannot succeed. So a school that you could have built maybe with half the cost, you have built 2 schools with a certain amount, now you put only into 1 school. So definitely you could do better.
Yeah, definitely.
And we haven't been able to do that. So that is the thing. And you are talking about the past 4 years. Some of them, they are in the public domain. There may be allegations we have investigated, but the Ajapa deal, for us in civil society, we thought that there was something wrong with it.
Okay.
The PDS deal, the fact that it was abrogated, clearly shows that they themselves admitted that there was something wrong with it. And there are other investigations that you don't come out with the results.
Okay.
Or you just keep the report to yourself. These are serious issues. If you set up a committee to investigate an issue, it means that you've accepted it as a serious matter.
Okay.
So you need to take action on it. If you don't take action on it, then what is the point? You wasted the resources, you wasted the time of the people. There are certain important people in this country. We respect them so much. If they do something for you, they expect they should be able to deal with it. And then you go to the Auditor General.
I'll let you hold on with that as we have our correspondents on the line. And so, Martin, if you can.
Yeah, certainly I will be interspersing this very interesting conversation with live updates across the country because we are about 15 minutes into voting now. We're going straight to Josephine, who is joining us from one of the constituencies in the Tema region, and will be telling us what's happening there, specifically Ashaiman. Josephine, thank you for joining us. What can you report? Now, straight to Josephine, who is joining us from one of the constituencies in the Tema region, and will be telling us what's happening there, specifically Ashaiman. Josephine, thank you for joining us. What can you report?
Right, Martin. Currently, I am at St. Peter's Methodist Church. It's one of the polling stations. It is actually a cluster of polling centers here. It has about 7 polling centers here. And EC are still preparing, even though it's 7:50 minutes after 7. So far, 4 of the centers are ready to start, and the rest are still preparing. They are putting the equipment together, they are checking the necessary books and the ink and everything before they start. For when we came here early, we got here as at 2 a.m. And when we got here, we saw a large crowd of people who were behind the gate. Because it's a church premises, the door was locked. So all the people, more than hundreds of people, were behind the gates until the security allowed them in. So there was a few skirmishes here and there. You know, these people have left their homes so early to come and queue and vote. And when they got here, the door was locked. But that was solved just around 6 a.m. where they allowed people to come in here. But so far, what we have observed on the ground is that this place is quite spacious because we have 7 polling centers and people here are coming to vote. It's quite spacious to accommodate all of them. And one very striking thing that what I have gone around all the Ashaman constituencies I have observed is that the COVID-19 protocols is really being enhanced. We saw that they have appointed people who are ambassadors, and their role is to ensure that the Veronica bucket, the soap, and all of that is available for people to use before they start to do their voting. So most of the places that we have gone, you can see that it's in place and people are using it. So Martin, so far our attention has just been drawn that one of the center is ready and a lady is voting right behind me. But the rest of the 6 are still sorting themselves out before they do that. I spoke to the EC to find out why the delay, because people have been waiting. People have queued for a very long time and they are still sorting out, even though it's almost 20 minutes past 7. And the issue is that some of the materials didn't come too early. That's why they are having that challenge. But in a few minutes, it will be sorted out. But I want to engage a party agent that when we came earlier, we saw him, because currently the EC guys are all busy. So this gentleman, we met him here during the thick of things where the confusion was going on. Nobel, tell us, early in the morning when we came here, we saw a huge crowd of people here. What was actually the issue?
The thing is that some people came here around 2 a.m. to spend that night over here. So, and they didn't know that we have 7 police stations. Actually, when they're registering, the police stations were split into only 5. But when they came here, they are split into 7. So we have to arrange them. So that was what brought the skirmishes around the area. But I think now we are about to start. So I think you will vote in an orderly manner. So that is why we have arranged them like this, to also follow the COVID-19 rules.
Okay, so that was nobody explaining to us what exactly happened. In Ashaiman here, we have about 350 polling centers with a registered voter population of about 167,000 people are expected to vote here.
Thank you very much, Josephine Nchie. There is quite some lag in the information, but then we'll certainly be crossing over to her for the latest when it does come in. We're swinging straight to the Savannah region. Christopher Mwako has joined us. He's been monitoring events there from specifically the Damongo constituency. Chris, we are told that voting has started. Can you tell us what's happening where you are?
So, Martin, earlier I reported that I was at the Japa Primary A and B polling stations, but I've moved from that polling station to the Damongo Senior High polling stations A and B, where voting started at exactly 7 a.m. So far, I can count about 5 people who have gone through the process. A lot of people are also right here in the queue waiting for their turn to go and cast their ballot. You remember, once this place is a polling station in a senior high school, a lot of the people or the voters are students from the Damongo Senior High School. So they are in their queue waiting to go and cast their vote. I cited one police officer who is comfortably seated and watching the voters go through the process. However, the Veronica bucket that is supposed to contain water for the voters who come to take their turn to vote does not contain water. It is standing somewhere And the voters, when they come, they are unable to wash their hands before going through the process, even though they have a hand sanitizer for that. Now, these are people, these are the students. Everybody is seated waiting for his or her turn to go and cast the vote. This particular polling station has a voter population of 511. So 511 voters are expected to cast their vote at this particular polling station. That is that's polling station A. So, Martin, that is what I can report for now.
All right. Thank you so much for that quick update you brought us. We do also know that it's one of the constituencies where a deputy chief of staff is trying to unseat an incumbent member of parliament, Adam Mutawakilo, is facing off with Abu Jinapo. And our reporter there, Chris, will be monitoring that and bringing out the very latest regarding that. So I'm going back to Bella, so we'll continue that conversation. When we do get any interesting information about what's happening countrywide, trust your election command center to bring you the latest and on time. So Bella, we're enjoying what was going on, but we'll be coming back to you as and when we have new information. We'll be, pardon us, we'll be crisscrossing as well.
We totally understand. And yes, it's 7:21, so we're expecting that voting should have begun in some of these constituencies, all things being equal. But still in the studios with us, Mr. Vitus Azim is the former executive director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, and also Dr. Iti Amano Lati, University of Education, Winneba, Political Science Department. We're just talking about corruption, and we were almost just hitting the nail on the head with regards to the issue of Mr. Domlevo and when he was asked to proceed on leave. You had mentioned immediately after that statement was put out that he was set up, it looked as if he was set up to fail so he can be pushed out. Do you still stand by those? What do you make of it? You were just about to comment on that.
No, I didn't say that Domlevo was set up to fail. No, maybe we said it with regards to the special prosecutor. But I believe that Mr. Domlevo was pushed out.
Pushed out, okay.
Because of what he was doing at the time. And that was unfortunate. Because this is somebody that was following things, audit reports, doing audits that were unraveling a lot of improper things, and even went to court on some of these issues, and only for you to say that, oh, he has got accumulated leave since he took over, so he should go on leave. One, you are interfering with the independence of the auditor general. Two, how many public officials have you asked to proceed on leave when we know that they are there, that they haven't gone on leave for some of them up to 10 years? They wait until when they go on retirement, then they accumulate they give all this to them. You go spend about 6 months before you actually go on retirement. So why pick on him? Is it not because of the corruption that he was fighting? Okay. That was my problem with him. When you move to Office of Special Prosecutor, the same thing. You set up the institution, very welcomed by many people. You put somebody that we thought, yes, is going to do the work. But you have to resource the person to be able to do the work. You have to grant the person some amount of independence to be able to do the work. And this has not been the situation.
Okay. But the NDC...
2018, there was no budget, even though the law was passed towards the end of 2017. So there should have been a budget for that institution in 2018. There was no budget. After he was appointed in February, it took up to July before they set up the board. And until he left, kept complaining about having seconded investigators. Only an office in Accra. You cannot compare that office to other offices like that SRAG has and Iroko. They have district, regional and district offices. So how do you expect an office like that to perform?
Do you think that the NDC has capitalized on this as much? You mentioned earlier that unfortunately they've also not been able to do much, but they announced Operation Sting and the fact that they're going to ensure that any official who becomes corrupt will be prosecuted. They talked about making sure that you declare your assets before you go into power and all of that. Is that enough for the fight against corruption?
You see, some of these things, they are meant to get votes. Making sure you declare assets. We have been fighting, when I was at GI, we have been fighting with the parliamentarians to pass the regulations that will allow the Auditor General to even open the declarations and look at them. Both sides would not agree. If I take a blank sheet of paper, fold it and put it on an envelope and go and tell the Auditor General, this is my asset declaration, he is obliged to give me a receipt saying that he has received my asset declaration. It doesn't make sense. What if it's an empty piece of paper? So they were in power. What did they do about it? What should convince us that this time is going to be different? You see, so that is the problem with such things. And I was talking about the Office of Special, the lack of resources for it to work. And it's not only just that office. SHRAG has often complained. Now, I think recently the commissioner says that, oh, things were okay. But even that, there are still problems. The lawyers who have got experience there have left because they think that their salaries are not adequate. So when you establish an institution that is supposed to fight corruption, you must not only equip the institution as an institution, but you must also handle the workers very well, pay them reasonably such that they will be convinced to stay. They will not be attracted by the private sector or other institutions that are paying better. This has not been the situation with our anti-corruption institutions, not just under this government, but previous governments as well.
Okay. Dr. Manolatis.
But if you don't mind, I just want to say something about the ambitious thing. I forgot to add extending free access to private schools.
That's an ambitious promise?
An unnecessary promise.
Unnecessary?
Yes.
Why do you tag it as unnecessary?
Why would you go to international? People have money. If I have money to pay my child dollars for my child to go to an international school, the government can say, "Oh, I'll pay for it."
But Mr. Vartas, it's not only about international schools. There are private institutions that were also saying that they wanted to at least benefit from this.
And that goes back even when the free was first introduced. Some of us thought that they should have been targeting, not just make it broad like that. And that's one of the reasons why this thing has encountered a lot of problems. It's not everybody that needs free exercise. A minister, a parliamentarian. For example, I don't think, I'm not rich, but I don't think I couldn't pay my children's school fees. So when you start something and you just make it so open for political capital, at the end of the day, you encounter a lot of problems.
Yeah.
You see.
Could that be the same mistake that they are making with the promise of free tertiary?
I think so.
Again, they've opened it up to everyone else.
I think it's the same mistake. The other side of it, the opposite side of it is that if you promise to do certain things, you must look at the source of revenue. What are they going to do to reduce expenditures in certain areas so that the money will now go into these free things that we are promising?
Okay.
Are we going to reduce minister salaries? Are we going to stop buying V8s, giving ministers and saloon cars as well? Are we going to continue to provide free accommodation, light, water to ministers and all that? If you are really serious about making life easy for the ordinary people, you have to make life a bit difficult for the rich people, those in high levels.
Okay.
This doesn't show in any of the manifestos.
Well, the NDC, in responding to some of these, said that already the president appointed too many ministers and deputy ministers. And so if we're looking at where we can get funds to support free tertiary, one of them would be to cut down on the number of ministers because we can retrieve some money from that aspect and, invest in it. And a few other places as well. The NPP already had announced an 80 million Ghana cedis budget for scholarships sometime in August. And so they are saying that there was money already set aside because 20 million of that money is going into the scholarships for the free SHS graduates. And for them, that's money that was already allocated. And so they do have the funds. What do you say about that briefly? And then I'll bring...
Yes, but as I said that they were acting to each other's promises. Some of them are not planned. Because you heard NPP say something on one platform, you go and counteract it. And these don't go into implementation. They are just language to court votes.
Okay.
For me. This must be documented in your manifestos. And we'll be told how you are going to do it. The sources of revenue or income, how you're going to do it. That will be convincing. Okay. But if you go on the political platform and make these promises, some of them, I think that they're not the best.
Unnecessary. Dr. Manolate, what role do you think corruption would play in the casting of votes today, looking at all the issues that we have encountered as a nation over the last 4 years?
For the issue of corruption, you want to look at it from two angles. That's for the majority of voters that we have in this country. Majority of them, do they understand the JAPA deal? Do they understand the issues that anti-corruption campaigners are raising, the issues that the opposition party should have raised that they didn't raise too well? If the ordinary voter understands or can appreciate these issues, then it will go a long way to affect the way they vote. But, you look at the issues that have been raised, the issues of corruption within the last 4 years, and they have not been hammered by the opposition as they ought to have done. Unlike in the 2016 elections, corruption became a big issue because the opposition party then, the NPP, was able to drive home the point that the government, the NDC government, was corrupt. And it caught on well with voters. So in 2016, I would say that it counted. But in this particular elections, I don't see corruption playing a major role because I think that the opposition party has not been able to hammer the issue of corruption very well. And again, the media has also not driven the country in a discussion of corruption issues. Few media houses were able to, but they didn't go deep into the issues of corruption. So on face value, corruption, well, issues are mentioned, but you ask the ordinary voter to mention some corruption deals, and I can tell you that most Ghanaians are unaware of the real issues of corruption that were raised by some institutions. And so for this particular elections, I don't think that corruption will play a major role in deciding who goes back to the Jubilee House or who stays in the Jubilee House.
I see. Well, we'll have to wrap up on this session, but what will be your final words before we move on?
Election 2020, the issues that will drive, or that is driving the voting now, according to the NCC, the issue of education. Education is top on the list, employment, healthcare. So those are the major issues that are driving or that are pushing voters to the polling booth today. And well, I hope that we get the best experience as a country. We deepen the democratic culture and credentials that we have built for ourselves in the sub-region over the years. And at the end of the day, well, we'll get the best president fit for us.
Absolutely. Mr. Vice Azim, what do you have to say finally?
Yes, I think that one of the things that you saw the two parties at different levels was the Okada, the legalization of the Okada, where NDC says when they come into power, they are going to legalize it. And NPP says, no, we said we'll not legalize it, it's going to be there. But more serious things like the Galamsey like this, it doesn't appear to have been properly addressed. You see, and those are the things that affect the revenues of the country, the resources. The unemployed youth think that, or they feel that they have nowhere to go. They have to go and do Galamsey. So what are you going to do to discourage them from doing the Galamsey? That's a very important issue. He talked about job creation. But we just use the word or the term job creation, without giving details of how are you going to create the jobs. If, for example, you decide that you are not going to recruit people into the police service for the next 1 year, then you wait till last year you recruit several times, 4 times to the police service. Those are not jobs that you've created. I mean, it's something that you have delayed for a long time. You didn't deal with it.
Okay.
But just to say that, please, whether you like any party or not, go out and vote. It's a civic responsibility. We must all go out and vote. It doesn't matter who you vote for, I don't care. But make sure that you go and vote. Exercise your civic responsibility.
All right, and I do hope that you would be casting your ballots later today as well. All the very best to all 12 political, 11 political parties and 1 independent candidate. And so 12 presidential aspirants, 883 parliamentary aspirants. I've been speaking to Mr. Vitus Azim. He is the former executive director for anti-corruption civil society organization, Ghana Integrity Initiative, and also Dr. E.T. Amano Late from the Political Science Department of the University of Education, Winneba. It's been a pleasure interacting with you. And we'll be bringing you more of these as well as live pictures from the ground as, people have already started casting their votes. But now let's link to the West Wing studios. And if you watched that yesterday, then you'd understand that this will not be the only studio we'll be operating from. We have the West Wing that houses a number of mini studios as well. One of them is Ballot 360, which will be manned by Patrick Stevenson. And he's fact-checking every information that comes out and every data as well. And so let's cross over now to Patrick Stevenson, Ballot 360 in your West Wing studios.
Hello there, you're welcome to Ballot 360, your one-stop shop for validating every thing that will be happening across the country from the various polling stations. It's important that at this point in time, you don't get people throwing any kind of information out there that dissuades or you in any form or shape. And so you should tune into this segment of the show as we try to unpack all the issues that will be coming out from the various polling stations, as I indicated. It's Ballots 360. We are live on the various social media handles. You can join us there. If you have questions or you have any issues that are coming out in the field, you can put these through our various social media handles, and then we will do justice to them by giving you the facts as they are. But at this point in time, I have been joined in studio by two gentlemen who do a lot of work regarding elections. It's elections, that time of the electoral calendar, and it's important that we understand the views of the professionals that are involved in the management of elections, that observe the democracy and governance of this country. To my immediate left, I have Mr. Albert Ayin, who is the National Coordinator for the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO. And to his left, we have none other than Mr. Kwesi Jonah, who is the Senior Research Fellow at the Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEM. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us and good morning. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Let me start off with you, Albert. What are your observations around the the processes that we have put together prior to today, which is December 7th, as we go into the polls?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your listeners. I think what has been happening so far is that things have been moving very nicely, especially from the point of view of the EC. We have been assured many a time that they've been able to send all their materials to the field. And the EC boss has been saying that they were sent there about 2 weeks to the time, except, of course, for the ballot papers, which were to be delivered at dawn this morning. So when you talk about materials, when you talk about security, when you talk about preparations and training of all the EC staff and whatever, even observers, like in my outfit, we have also trained. We've gone to the field, we've done civic education, we've done LTO, that is a long-term observation, trying to find out about how the parties are faring in the various constituencies. And I can say that a lot has gone in, and we hope to be getting a very good election.
Do we have an indication that all the constituencies have received their materials?
So far, I think there has been no adverse report about a constituency that hasn't received anything, at least coming from the EC itself.
Right. But as election observers, have you picked up anything regarding any of the constituencies or the possibility of anything untoward happening?
No, not a signal has come from any of our observers that are on the field.
So we are confident that 2020 elections is going to be better than all the elections we have seen before.
I cannot say it for now. It's too early to say that it's going to be better. They started voting, I think, about almost 40 or 30 something minutes ago. We need to still watch and then be able to predict exactly what is going to happen. And that's so far so good.
And that is exactly why we are here at Ballot 360, to get a sense of what is happening across the country and bring you the expert opinions. I'll go to you now, Mr. Kwesi Jonah. So you do a lot of work with governance, right? And I suspect that at this point in time, if you look at the posturing of the two political parties and the way they have, the two major political parties, I should say, because we have more than, two political parties in the country. How would you say the way they've conducted themselves, in the last, say, 4 years prior to this election, how would you say they've conducted themselves?
Well, unfortunately, there have been sporadic incidents of violence between the two parties. You know that on Friday, the two leading candidates signed a peace pact. Just within hours, there were reports of violence in Yagabaga, somewhere.
Yagabaga, yes.
Somewhere in the north. And the way the incident happened is shooting and knives and cudgels and people are already in the hospital. So, in spite of the fact that they have behaved generally very, very well, we still are recording isolated cases of violence. But I don't think that this is going to be the general situation in the country. I think this election is going to be generally very, very peaceful.
What is your assessment of the level of preparation from the security apparatus of the country?
Yeah, the National Election Security Task Force has assured us that approximately 60,000 security personnel will be deployed. Out of this, 6,000 will come from the military. You know, the military usually do not want to engage in civilian policing operations, but this is an exceptional situation. Because we don't have the numbers, they will contribute about 6,000. And my understanding is that they have already been deployed. They were deployed.
Hold your thoughts for me. In fact, as we're on the conversation around security and what it means, we understand there's some developments coming in from the Asawase constituency, some confusion already, as we've just gone about just 30 or 40 minutes into elections. We'll be crossing over to Asawase to find exactly what is going on and let you know what you can do as a citizen of this country. Where we seem to be having some challenges establishing contact with the... Okay, so Asawase, here we go.
Hear the sound, though. You can't hear the sound. Yes. So we are coming to you live from the Baba Kombo polling station, and this is one of the polling stations. Have the validation stamp, but I can tell you that now it is ready, and the various political party representatives have been told to come and then inspect the materials before voting starts. So even though voting has started in other parts of the constituency, as far as the 206 polling stations are concerned, but at Baba Kombo voting is yet to start. As you can see, there's a long queue of voters who are getting ready to be called so they can also exercise their vote. Everything is set. We have the booths which is set. We have the ballot boxes. They are all set. But what they are waiting is for the Electoral Commission or for the party agent here to be satisfied that yes, everything is set, so everybody can come and also go through the process of voting. So that is the situation here, but I will try and engage the presiding officer for this particular polling station to tell us what really went wrong, and perhaps if there has been any solution, a better position to tell us. But already I've told you that the stamp, the validation stamp that wasn't here, it just arrived. So sir, hello. I know you are very busy, but a quick one. I just want to know what really caused the delay.
Oh, well, it's like, take your time. It's like if you want to take me on to the in fact the PRO of the EC is there, so I am not entitled to do that. So you take your time.
But can you say that the validation is in the validation stamp?
The woman,
the validation stamp is it in?
It will come.
Okay, all right. So well, at the moment we thought it was in, but we've just been told that the validation stamp is still not in. So until it comes, these voters will have to remain in the queue until it is ready for them to, begin the process. So here at the Baba Kombo, that is the situation here. But this particular polling station is not new to incidents like this. I quite remember during the voter registration exercise, we had a similar situation when there was a clash between the military and then somebody claiming to be coming from the national security. But I can tell you that for now there's calm, only that they are still waiting for the validation stamp to be ready so they can begin the process. Studios.
Right, and so that feed is coming from the Asawase constituency. And Mr. Sam Jonah, we were just talking about Kwesi Jonah, sorry, let me not mix that up. We were just talking about security and how we're going to organize and conduct ourselves, particularly today, if not for anything at all, say in the next 10 hours. now you already have some trouble that's starting, somewhere, part of that organization process. Are you still sure that we're safe?
Yes, I am sure that you will not experience widespread violence. But Asawasi, even during the registration, was always a number one flashpoint.
Right.
The reason being that Asawasi is one of 3 constituencies in the Ashanti region which are still controlled by the NDC. And the present NPP leadership in Ashanti are determined that all those 3 constituencies that lie outside NPP control should come back.
Right.
So the tension in Asawasi especially is very, very high. And fortunately for the NPP, they have fielded Seydou Alidou, who is the municipal chief executive of Asokore Mampo municipal area. When Seydou Alidou contested against Muntaka in 2016, the gap was very small.
Right.
And that is why they have fielded him again and are trying to do it. So I'm not surprised at all.
Do you get a sense that the NDC may win those 2 seats back? The
NPP will win those 2 seats back?
Yes.
They are trying, but I tell you that since we started voting in 1992, they have not been able to take those seats from them. And I think it is going to take a hell of a struggle to clear them back. I think the NDC is going to retain.
Mr. Ahin, so in a development like what we have just seen, what should the ordinary voter do, and what should the electoral commissioner's officers who are on the ground do?
When it comes to violence at a center, first of all, you have a presiding officer who is at the place, and he should inform the police personnel. It's a critical incident, especially when you have an election that started not only just about 40 minutes ago. So he has to inform the security agencies exactly about what is going on there, so that they could bring about some kind of settlement for the election to proceed. Whoever is triggering that violence should be isolated, should be taken away.
Right.
So that because elections are governed by rules. And when it comes to that, the rules must be made to work. So if you're at a polling station, you are a nuisance. I think that is why the security agencies are around. And that is even the more reason why you have some of the soldiers positioned not within the polling station, but within some perimeter, some kind of
they are
roaming around the area. So if there's any violence, they will be called upon to come and quell it.
No voter should attempt whatsoever to try to apprehend another person that's fomenting trouble and then try to hand them over to
the
them.
voter should not do that.
They shouldn't get involved.
No voter should get involved in any, not even the election officials. Once there's violence at a polling station, the presiding officer's duty is to report.
Right.
If it's beyond him, then of course the National Security Council has to be brought in. And of course you have also observers who are there, like Kodio, for example.
Right.
They are supposed to be filling in what we call critical incidents form. Anything that can mar the beauty of the election will have to be informed or be sent to, the information has to be sent to the national headquarters for the necessary action to be taken.
Well, I can imagine that what we have just seen from the Asawase constituency is something that is going to feature in the report from Kodio. This is Ballot 360, where we validate and fact check all the issues that are coming from the various polling stations across the country on election day. You want to keep locked on here so you get the right updates, no fake news. This is bringing you all the facts from across the country, Ghana, regarding the elections and the conduct of officials across various polling stations and things that people may be saying, whether these are factual or not. At this point, we'll cross over to Election 360. This is your Election Command Center as we try to unpack issues around Ghana's 2020 elections.
Absolutely. Thank you so much of course. All right. Thank you so much, Patrick Stevenson from Ballot 360 in the West Wing studio. We still have some more updates coming up. Remember, this is your Election Command Center. Update us on social media as well, wherever you find yourself. Where are you voting? And of course, what are you noticing on the ground? You can be a, interim correspondent as well. The hashtag is Election Command Center. We'll be right back. Keep watching.
Sasabo, saso, mi se kume tonton preko. Saso, mi se kume tonton preko. Edwana jwami ne buseshe, ye hafesiane malaria. Minya mi kone mi saso spray. Every mosquito start to run away. Saso